and
Yeah.
but I had come in and I've been living the Florida life, and my hair just needed a reboot, like what we just did.
Where you at
And
now? Where
and
you at?
so
Where you at now?
I
Where?
am in not Florida.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I forgot. Now all the stories came back. We're live, by the
Oh
way.
Lord,
We're.
how
Uh
are you?
oh. Wait a minute.
you can you hear me?
Yeah, it's on my end. Hang on.
Mm.
Equipment I need to replace. Um. Yeah, we're already live, but it's going to take a little bit for people to come in, so we're good.
It's all right.
So
How are
you're
you?
at an undisclosed location.
Unfortunately,
That's okay.
the
Hey,
awakened life, we gotta, some
you
of
got to
us,
do what you got to do. You got to
that's
do what you got
right.
to do.
It's all about us.
Especially now.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of fuckery out there. I don't mind
And
saying.
and
And
yeah,
no, I'm just saying. I think what where I'm at with this whole thing is it's not the fuckery that we look at. It's not the Ukraine, the COVID, the vaxes. It's not that actually. For me,
mhm,
it's actually what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing. Am I looking through it or am I looking at it? So it's
yeah,
like what's beneath what I'm looking at, and I keep getting slowly but surely these signals of, don't follow that law, don't follow that border, don't follow that regulation, don't follow that government, don't buy into any of it. Here,
right,
here,
yeah,
and I don't know. I just feel like what's coming with us all is something none of us know. None of us have a
exactly.
clue. None of us have a clue about it. Everybody has different explanations, and they're all legitimate and they're all relevant and credible and integral. Integral, is that right? and
Integral, yeah.
integral. Uh, yeah, you can tell I just rolled out of bed 25 minutes ago.
Yeah. Let's.
but
I just finished painting my nails.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
what's interesting doing the show is that I get to see the same people,
Mhm.
over and
And over.
over a period of time. Yeah, some people I do, and it's interesting watching all the people the way they've changed.
Mhm.
And I'm sure they could say the same for me. But like just people come on and their energy is so much lighter,
Yeah.
so much more happy,
Mhm.
right? Like it's weird, and
Yeah.
it's good weird. It's a good weird, but I feel that from you.
Ah.
You feel different.
Yeah, I
You
looked at
really
her.
do.
Well, and it's so interesting that we started this conversation because I always have in my mind what we're going to discuss and there's so many things that can be discussed that are so fascinating and important, right?
Mm.
But today, I woke up. I had a very incredible incident yesterday where I downloaded and activated very different information. And you have to remember that one of all, first, my awakening was very different. I'm here doing a very different job. And the one
Because
thing,
you were hatched from an egg, weren't you?
no, I,
I'm just messing with
I was like the donut that got thrown out of the window while somebody was driving and I landed on the planet. I was supposed to end up somewhere else. I'm not quite sure. Glitches, they happen.
Mm.
Yeah, I had a spontaneous spiritual awakening, and it was instant. And it was on August 23rd, 2011, and it was very different. Back then, no one was having that. And it was for very good reasons that the frequency of the planet was in a very different
August
place.
23rd, 2011.
2011.
I think mine was May 30th, 2011. I think a lot of people were having them, but I don't think it was being put out there, right? I don't think it was actually being like it
Well, we
is
didn't,
now. Mm.
going multi. We had all been programmed from wherever it is that we started from, right? My programming was, heaven to me was I was going to go float on a cloud and play a harp and have wings. I
Is that
mean,
what you
this
were
is
gonna
how.
do? Is that
That's
what
what
you were
I was
gonna?
told I was going to do.
They sent me with a black hoodie and what is it, a
Sketchy.
machete or a scythe down to the pits of hell.
Yeah,
That's
the hounds of hell. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. All of us had to transcend our inside out, backwards, and upside down third dimensional matrix programming that we were
yeah,
brought in. And I know you've seen the correlation that the majority of us were brought into families that
yeah.
were either exceptionally religious, like mine was. And in fact, my family, the Bethencourt family, has got a history going all the way back to the Knight Templars, and those are all bloodlines that had no blood left in them, if you wish to call it that, because they had been, and they weren't going to ascend. There was nothing, there was no, you can only kill so much. And so, except in this final timeline that we're in, right, where everything aligned to where every soul, um, none were left behind, so to speak, and we hear that
Right.
all the time. And so we had to I had to transcend all that programming. My spontaneous awakening had nothing to do with finding out and being a light worker and preparing to do the boots on the ground grid work that I did, 3 months at the Vatican, doing the global work with another light worker. I've had different light workers in every single path because my beloved is not here. And so, we were called into service back then to clear the grid lines because we
In
knew what was coming.
2011, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you
And so
did.
I
So
had to
you
be ready
did.
by the
But I
11,
mean,
11, 11 portal.
but so when you woke up, because you just said something, and the reason I go over this stuff because some people are just waking up and their experiences are very similar to some of ours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you said that when you woke up in August 2011,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't know about light worker, you didn't know about
Oh,
that stuff.
no.
See,
Oh, I
and
was deep asleep in the matrix. I was
yeah,
100% under. And,
yeah,
and that's its own conversation on its own as to why, because we all have different purposes and soul contracts in the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth, on and on and on and on. So it's kind of like, think of an inverted pyramid, right? I, when I had that spontaneous awakening on that afternoon, I remembered I was a spiritual being having a physical experience, which is truth of the awakening, right? Is what everybody wants to make it all these things, but the reality is that we awaken to the truth of who we are. We don't necessarily awaken to the reality of the matrix. We just awakened. So I awakened to my own akashic records, if you wish to call them that. I awakened and I began kind of working my way. It's taken me what? How many times, Todd, have I moved in the last 10 years? 10 times? Those are quantum jumps. I've had to come in and come in and come in to finally land.
you're talking about
Um,
physically moving
Physically.
in court. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have to align to the right ley lines because every ley
yeah,
line is a frequency. Every country is a frequency. Every country, every town. We can break it down to timelines infinitely down to the house in which we're in. That's because we're multidimensional. We never thought we'd go multidimensional. We didn't know what we were gonna go, but we didn't know we were gonna be multidimensional beings. We didn't know that we were evolving into the new human. We didn't understand. All I knew at the time was all the information that I downloaded when I awakened and when it
yeah.
all opened up for me, and the quantum physics and quantum mechanics. Um, and so that was and it's funny because I look back on these 11 years, and every time I wanted to go into the third dimensional matrix and the truth of what was really going on, and the uglies, as I call them, right? What we are now seeing play out.
Right.
I knew all this stuff 11 years ago. You did too. I personally was guided by my light team to just not paying attention to anything that had to do with a third dimensional matrix because I was doing fifth dimensional work already.
So
You
what?
know,
Okay. So wait a minute. So what do you mean by, just so we can be clear with people, because
Mhm.
I'm
It's
following you.
confusing.
No, it's not confusing. I just
To
think
some.
that I just think that, and this is kind of what I was talking about when we first started talking, is what we consider to be third dimensional
Mhm. The
10
third
years
dimension
10
to
years
me,
ago. I'm just saying, like 10 years ago,
yeah.
what we thought was the extent of third dimension or the extent of the inverted matrix, it went much deeper than that.
Oh,
Like, see,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is, I think the things that that led to let go of are every single aspect of the 3D, which we resist some of it, and we've kind of got over that. But it's these little things that keep it in place, such as bullshit laws, rules, regulations, lending practices, governmental.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm
the third
serious. I
dimension
really feel
piece.
like that this is where we're headed. We're headed to a place where you gotta say, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go down the street and buy a gallon of milk and have a free exchange, even though there's troops on the corner that are going to ask me for papers or whatever the case is. I really feel like we're
Right.
being taken to a point where we're actually going to be making a choice energetically
Absolutely.
of not participating.
If people that want to understand how we move about the grid, so the third, just so that you know my language, because I come from a very different, I never meditated a day in my life. I'm still to meditate like people want to meditate. I meditate very differently. For years, and my meditation was a bubble bath with music, crystals, and a doobie. I mean, which now we know that opened up the third, the reason they don't want you doing that is because it opens up your pineal gland. It decalcifies your pineal gland. I didn't know any of that. I was guided completely
Weed
by my
does?
team.
Does weed decalcify?
Yeah, the
Damn,
pineal.
I should be clear as hell on my third eye. All the weed I smoked when I was younger. I just mess with it.
Yeah, it's one of the things for real, for real.
Yeah.
And so, all those years, I was never guided to work on matrix issues. I was always guided to work on fifth dimensional clearing of the ley lines because I'm a volunteer. So if we go back a little ways, everybody's here to do a purpose, right? The reason why I was such a sleeper and I had to wait for the frequency to awaken me, it's kind of like Dolores Cannon talks about it. And she is, in fact, I'm going to meander a bit and say that I am in the process of finishing up my my quantum healing therapy hypnosis thing with Dolores Cannon sessions because I've been tapping into Akash and doing
Now,
sessions for years.
are you working with her direct in the Akashic? Is that what
I
you're
have
saying?
worked with her directly since 2011.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Are you like
But
taking?
and now I'm taking the actual classes. Yeah, I'm
Are you
upset.
taking them? But are you taking them in the direct to the Akashic, or are you actually taking them with her organization?
I'm taking with her organization to
Okay,
support
okay.
her work.
I
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
curious. I just want to get some feedback. They're here in
Yeah.
Arkansas too, aren't they? They're here in Arkansas.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I should run up there and do a show.
Just run.
I hear they're like 100 miles up to the north.
There you go.
Maybe
I
you
know
can
nothing about nothing.
introduce me to someone. I need to get on the road and go do something.
Yeah, yeah,
Give me
you need to
something to
shift
do.
it. So quantum jumping, right, and multidimensional living, that
Mm,
we now are beginning to understand the signs of the
right.
true matrix and how to navigate the holographic universe. I was downloading all the science aspect and the quantum jumping, quantum mechanics, and understanding because of my soul and who I'm a hybrid. I have a Arcturian father and an Andromedan mother, a dracon.
I,
So I am a hybrid soul,
let me ask you
Arcturian
this.
Andromedan soul
I got you.
for
Let me
layman.
ask you this, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything.
Mm-mm.
I just want to get some context
Be
since
funny, come on.
what I was going to ask you was, is there anyone on Earth that's not a hybrid?
I think everybody is a lot of that. I think that every time you expand, because we're DNA. And so think about it this way. At least this is how I understand it. Of course, I always say take what you need, leave the rest. Right now, in our astrological symbols, we have just gone into the 13th astrological sign of Oedipus,
That's me.
right?
I'm
Okay.
that sign.
Okay. So, why do we have that? And why are we ascending? And I think we've talked about astrological ascension in one of our get togethers. But so, quick example I'm a Gemini, right? I was born in June. I came in from the Gemini system and I mastered the gem. You can only exit a system when you've mastered it. Otherwise, you got to clean up. You got to leave it like you found it. So it's kind of like karma is across all grids, right? The seven hermetic principles apply to our universe. So if we can see it, it follows the seven hermetic principles. If we're seeing it with our eyes, if we're catching it with our telescopes, however you wish to do it, right? It is part of the third dimensional matrix. We're seeing it with these eyes. Okay, so you have 12 astrological signs. And of all those astrological signs, and now going into the 13th, I am a Gemini. I came in with a Gemini, but my awakening was on August 23rd. That shifted me from Gemini to being reborn on August 23rd. What is that, Virgo? How much
Yes,
attention I pay.
it's
Okay.
Virgo. So
Okay.
you're only like what, 10 years old now?
I'm 11.
Okay.
57, 11, whatever. 125, who cares? Um, and so that was the third. It's kind of like, so if on August 23rd, 2011, one of the things that I later found out across my path was that, the hand of God didn't touch me and shift me. It was the hand of man. I died. I just did. It was a near death experience. And this is in the final timeline why everybody's having a near death experience, because they are quantum jumping from the third dimensional Earth. Normally they would have gone right back, but their frequency is too high, so they're moving on to the fourth dimensional Earth. This is the final timeline. This is, we are going into the sixth root of man.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
yeah,
What
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying with it.
And so
Have
when
you-
I exited, right,
okay,
on on August 23rd,
okay.
and then I had to master that soul lesson of astrology. What did we say it was? Virgo? Yeah, Virgo.
Virgo.
What
Yeah.
Virgo, what it entails, what is the essence of a Virgo? Because I had already mastered the essence of a Gemini. Is that making sense from an astrological ascension perspective? So I went from one to the other, because our souls, right? We grow through the equinoxes and
Right.
okay.
So each segment of the procession of the equinoxes offers a soul an experience to work towards mastery of that particular
Lesson
house. Yeah.
or
Okay.
experience or whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But now
That's how it begins.
you said something. I want to ask you about this too. So you said the quantum jumping thing, right? There's been a lot of, yeah, obviously as time's gone on over the last 10, 12 years, there's been, it's become a broader range of potential experiences.
Right.
We have more, epiphanies, revelations, expansion, awareness, and so on. So I wanted to ask you this because I had something happen to me. I think it was yesterday. I can't tell if it was yesterday or the day before. How the memory is now. But you talked about the quantum shifting. Did you have you experienced that like in a single moment
Yes.
that involved the physical, the mental, emotional? The reason I asked this is because yesterday, and I know
Yes.
things have happened before, but yesterday seemed like it was totally different.
Because the
20
sun kicked us.
is that what?
So
Well, I knew that was coming
the
in, but something
solar
I'm going to ask you.
flares are,
Yeah,
this is the final, like, cosmic judgment. When the sun, so we went through, the reason why I
okay,
know what's coming is because and why, so there's three chakra systems right now that are activating on this earth to ascend and continue experience. There's those that are the sleepers. That's the third dimensional matrix. They're the ones that are, putting on the mask, and now they flip the rhetoric on us, and now they're at war, and then, I'm sure aliens are coming next, whatever.
that's what
There's
I'm
always,
thinking.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's their next. That's the only thing they have left that could get everyone's attention because nothing else is working now.
Right.
The war's not working. The COVID's not working. The
Nothing
vaccines
works.
are not working.
Nothing is working.
So now you're
Right.
going to fake
Nothing
an
is
alien
working.
invasion and try to scare the shit out of everybody.
Right.
That's why I always ask people on the show, if you see ships land, are you going to just believe it?
No, hell no, I'm not getting
I'm
on the
not.
ship.
I'm not.
I don't want to be somebody's snack on the way home. No, no,
I'll
no.
be tasty. I'll be
Uh-uh.
tasty. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going to be like a
I'm
Mexican
no,
frog
no, no,
legs.
no. I'm not. I've had I've had actual encounters with reptilians. I mean, I am a star seed. And I want to say something because I come in and out, as you know, I'm doing very different work. I think maybe you understand it. Some of my people understand it. The rest, they don't understand it. And that's fine. That it's not at you can only understand the frequency of your consciousness. So it's kind of like a PhD professor that teaches quantum physics cannot be talking to a kindergartner about it. And this is why we have to so many light workers try to push and push. It's not going in. It's not. The frequency has to be aligned for you to be able to understand these exceptionally high level concepts. I'm not saying one thing or another, but everything is frequency vibration. Everything is how consciousness moves. We are light beings. We are light, right? There's no ending. So the third dimensional matrix, right? The majority of people there, their biggest fear is they're gonna die. Why? Because they don't have a higher power. They're not connected, right? They've been walking and experiencing as far separation from our source as possible. They're scared. I'm not scared to die, and I've crossed 3 times already. So for me, it's like, take me, and I'm still here. I'm not scared of that. So the third dimensional people, and I'm going to call them the third dimensional people, are really working on the experience of that cross, that understanding who they really are and how it doesn't just all go black, right? The fourth dimension, the second chakra system that's activating, is those that are awakening. So when you exit out the crown, where do you go? Well, that's the fourth dimensional chakra system. That's something that no one's really talking about, that I thought maybe we have time we could tap into today. And that was really what I was hoping to do. But and then the fifth dimensional chakra system, those are the ones that are awake. We are the ones that are here doing. We're not doing, right? We understand how energy works. We understand how quantum jumping works, and we understand where we are right now. So we allow ourselves to go dip into the third dimension, but because we have all the tools necessary, it's kind of like we go in there, we tap it, and then we come out again. Why do we do that? The law of resonance, physics, right? If you have the perfect pitch, everybody aligns. That's why we don't have to do anything. We just have to walk in faith. And faith is what it's all about, like the hokey pokey, right? You turn yourself around. That's what it's all about, because you have the ones that believe and the ones that don't believe. That's the bifurcation.
Was
And
that now I'm thinking about it, and I'm not trying to get off subject, but was that
no,
square dancing they made us do in elementary school? Was that some type of programming?
oh hell yeah.
I have to think of the words now.
Everything
I
you
know.
were taught in
I know.
school.
I'm just having fun. I'm
Hmm.
just playing
And
around.
so, but it's the hokey pokey, right? So hokey pokey,
Square dancing, hokey pokey.
square dancing, hokey pokey, right? And so you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. There will always be 50%, as per the seven hermetic principles. If you work and understand them, there will always be 50% truth and 50% lies. The energy of what is presented must always, in the third dimension, be 50-50. So yeah, do the hokey pokey. Maybe it's really all about. Well, actually, it is. It's all about turning yourself around, awakening,
Yeah, turning
right?
yourself
So
inside out.
right, exactly. And so the third dimension is the dimension of time. So one of the signs when we begin to awaken, right, is that we begin to lose the concept of time. And
Yeah.
I lost all concept of time on August 23rd, 2011, because I was immediately
August
out of the third
23rd,
dimension,
2011. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And so why do we do that? Because it teaches us to live in the now. So all this time, the human race has either been pulled into the past, which is the third dimension, or into the future, which is the fourth dimension. But they were never where we have our power in the now. And people say, oh, they talk about it all the time. What does it mean? Well, it really means that today is one sun and one moon. At the end of today, timelines collapse. That's why we collapse timelines when we sleep. You set your sacred intent to collapse any timeline that's not based in love. Those timelines will collapse at night, and literally every night we quantum jump to a new reality. If nothing has shifted, we enter right back exactly where we left. If we release and clear before we go to sleep, and if you say a prayer of protection right at midnight, you will release anything that's not for the greatest good in your timeline that you picked up that day magnetically. And the next day, you will awaken to a higher dimensional timeline. It's a step by step process.
Hmm.
Do nothing, we stay. If we do something that was not in alignment and we are just not getting it, the next day, we're going to come in at a lower timeline. Experience it all over again so that we figure out how to level up. It's all about leveling up. This is soul awakening. This is soul empowerment, right? And so the third dimension, time, the fourth dimension, space. Human race right now is stuck in four-dimensional, multidimensional consciousness warfare. This is warfare. And I want to tell you something very interesting I woke up with this morning, and you've never heard me talk about this, right? But that is Project Looking Glass.
Yep. I'm very familiar with it.
What? No, we don't talk about that. Oh,
well, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. I mean,
well,
it's.
You know what, though? A lot of light workers are only in the light. They're not addressing the shadow aspects, and we need to address the shadow aspects because the biggest rule of multidimensional living in the fourth dimension is what you look at disappears. And what that means is quantum physics. Think about it. The minute that you focus on something, it grows, it changes. So what it was is no longer because you have given it life. That's why you have to be so careful of what we think about, because what we think, we manifest. This is quantum physics. This is the part we never saw coming. We all thought we were going to be, personally, little angels sitting, playing my heart up in heaven, right? Not multidimensional living. And so there's so many things that we can do to strengthen our path and our purpose so that we can reach our, what I call winner, winner, chicken dinner timeline. The one timeline where you live your best life and the one timeline that you were born to live, right? We are souls, our higher selves. In 5D, our higher selves have descended. And that one of the signs that we know our higher selves have descended is you go, and I'm sure this happened to you. It happened to me very early on, and it kind of blew me away. I got in the car, and for a moment, I didn't know what to do. It was like
happens all the time.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
I literally had no knowledge. That was my higher self in driving, going, "What the hell? Where's my ship?" Right?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I think that's been pretty prevalent for the last couple of years.
And that's a huge multidimensional sign that you are awakening.
Yeah.
That's it, going into the fourth dimensional chakra system. What is the fourth dimensional chakra system? What happens when we exit at the crown? Well, after the third dimensional chakra systems, the chakras don't align linearly anymore because we're outside of time. So they're not in a line. You know, you don't go from the 8th to the 9th to the 10th. In fact, they go all over, you know, and it just depends. It's like they're doing this because that's the truth of the higher level chakras. So for example, when you exit, right, you would think, okay, well, I'm exiting, so I'm going to go to the next higher up level. But in fact, you don't. You go back down and you got to connect to the Earth Star chakra. So, you know, it's like we've gone elevator, go up, and an elevator come down again because we must connect to Mother Earth. Why? She'll guide us to green zones and red zones. Exactly what's happening right now. You know, we have to hear Mother tell us where we are safe. We're her children. Just like when I lived at the beach and, you know, 3 days before a hurricane, the birds are out of there. You know, and if I saw no birds, guess what? I buttoned down the hatches, right? Because it was coming. Why? Because Mother Earth spoke to her children. And the animals all disappeared. Well, that's why when you come out of the crown, if you're going to stay in this system and let Mother navigate through the fourth, fifth, and onwards, right, dimensions, we must be connected to her. You can't stay. You can't.
Right.
There's no
Right.
saying. So what happens if you exit? You come out exactly at the frequency you went in. You don't go. Nothing changes. You just wake up and you're right back in it. It's just another day, another dollar.
Groundhog Day.
Huh?
I said Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And
that, so we go to the Earth Star chakra, and so here's some signs that because I know there's a lot of people. I've been getting a lot of mail. Unfortunately, I have been as Project Looking Glass. They saw me. So for the last 11 years, I was surrounded by exceptionally dark men, especially in my life, men and women both. But everything was done back then. My team would always say that to one light worker there was 5,000 dark workers all around us. A lighthouse is a lighthouse in the storm. And so we had to learn the only thing that allows us to grow our empathic powers and activate our clairs, which are fourth dimensional chakra systems, is Mother Earth. She will keep us safe.
I don't think we're in any danger. I don't think we're in any danger. I don't see any danger.
By danger, I mean, do you want to be in the hurricane, or do you want to be at
Well, I mean,
because everything we do is divinely perfect, but the human race has chosen to ascend with ease and grace, the ones that have awakened. So we just are softly moved out of the way as Mother needs us. That's what I mean. I don't mean.
So let me ask you this. Wait, I just want to. Holly Caddy, I think you've talked before about you're in Arkansas. I'm just trying to do a reminder to myself to hit her up. And she's talking about green zones.
Let me know when you're in Arkansas, by the way.
I'm in Arkansas. I live in Arkansas.
Oh, you live in
So she says huge green zones here in the crystalline portals, hot water springs, and diamond mines of Arkansas.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this, though. Okay.
That's the arc.
So, Holly, I hope we can connect and you can turn me on to some places that are in Arkansas. Thank you. But you mentioned Project Looking Glass, and then you started talking about the third, the fourth, the chakra systems of each. How does the Project Looking Glass relate?
Why would I mention this? So, I think, so let's talk about Project Looking Glass, right? So, all this time, and I'm going to call them the powers that think they are.
The powerless powers that be. That's what I call them.
I call them the powers that think they are.
Same thing.
Yeah. And so they were using psychics and mediums, and they were remote viewing, and they were looking forward, and they were able to see what was coming, so they were able to manipulate the outcomes. Except after 12/21/12, when the Mayan prophecy worked out, it all shut down.
That's right.
And all they saw was all timelines. Whatever they did, it didn't matter what they did. It all ended up in one timeline, and it all went white. They couldn't see anything, and it scared the flip out of them, because that was their only power. Right?
Yeah, we actually just talked about this.
Oh, really?
3 or 4 days ago on the show. Yeah. Well, yeah,
David
I was
Wilcox,
just.
of course, is, and then
David Wilcox. I guess I'm being a little ornery this morning, but he has no credibility in my eyes.
Wait, not David Wilcox. Which is the guy that's got the French accent? I mean, the English accent. Not Wilcox, the other guy.
Max Egan? I don't know.
No.
Well, what I was referring to, and I'd seen it before. There's if you go to Brian Scott's YouTube channel, and you go to hang on, let's see, it's called Be Inspired, I think is the name of his channel. But if you look at Brian Scott, so there's a video, and I posted it last year, and it's from somebody who worked in Looking Glass, and it's exactly what you said. Okay,
yeah,
it's what you said.
There
was different people. There were different people using it.
Yeah.
And every simulation that was run after 2012, it didn't matter what they did. So they actually, based on this whistleblower,
they shut it down.
Okay, They shut it down because there was no point in it, you know?
Right. Well,
So,
what they also realized, it's my understanding. So think of glass, right?
yeah.
So I'll tell you how Project Looking Glass expressed itself in my life. My awakening was in August of 2011. I had to be full online, as I call it, right, by 11/11/11 portal, because I am
Okay.
a volunteer. I'm doing very specific work for grid lines. And because of my Arcturian training, let's call it that, soul training, I have the ability to rewrite the matrix. I have the ability, to very physically rewrite the matrix. I can collapse timelines. I see the matrix very differently. It's always been like that. And it's gotten even, after a while, you just learn to read the new language. And that's exactly what happened. And back in 2011, shortly after my awakening, I will never ever forget this. I was sitting in bed, and I had put my crystals, and they were giving rainbows, and I was just, kind of feeling out on those rainbows and kind of that, and I'm just in a very high vibrational place. And all of a sudden, it was like a zipper opened up in front of me,
Uh-huh.
and this face popped up. It was a gray, because they were the ones that were part of that. They were the minions. So, and it looked right at me, and it saw me, not this. It saw my real face,
Right.
kind of like Lucifer, Netflix, and it became terrified, and it shut down. And so the Project Looking Glass was shut down, not because it wasn't working, but because they realized that all we had to do was tap into the timeline, and we could see them. And
Well,
that's
that's right. I
why
mean, that's the thing is that
it works both ways.
yeah, the reason
Hmm.
that at least in this production with this whistleblower was that simply the awakening reaches proportions that things like what you're talking about occur. So it's no longer, it's game up.
Oh yeah.
It's game over,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know?
No,
So,
we're this isn't a human war that we're in. I mean, the human consciousness is in a war. Everything is a war on consciousness. It has
uh,
been from the get go. It's a
yeah.
war on keeping as many souls back. Why? Because that's the way it's always been done. But that's not the new way. And that's when everything started to fall apart. I mean, and as we begin to, as all those interference and negative alien agenda and all the stuff that's coming out, and there's about to come out some very just I use the word devastating because I come from that world, of religious. There's about to be a religious secret tied to Tartaria and all that that's about to come out with the Roman Catholic Church. That is,
Well, that's a huge subject that you're talking about.
I don't talk about those things.
I mean, if you look at seriously, if you look at giants, okay, tall, that lived
Oh
on the
yeah,
earth, and you look at that, that's very close to our past, our recent past.
oh yeah.
It's got a lot of information.
Hmm.
There's some fuckery going on there because they lived. That there's accounts easily of 150 years ago, 200 years ago, like massive on a massive scale. Then you have the giants. Then you have the whole Tartaria thing. Yeah, if anyone who hasn't really looked into Tartaria,
Needs to.
look
Yeah.
into the world fairs,
Hmm.
from 1876 to 1904.
Hmm.
If you look at the world fairs, there's major fuckery going on there.
So
I'm talking about,
I'll take you
you don't
down a
have,
rabbit hole for just a
mm,
minute on that,
yeah.
okay? Because
And wait, I just want to finish this point.
oh yeah,
Because so much of what we've accepted is not true.
none of it
That
is true.
creates a blockage because it ties us to the 3D. And I just want to give an example because there's many examples, be it giants or anything else, is that with these state fairs, you're talking about massive productions of construction that were supposedly done in very short periods of time. I just give an example. I think it was I think it was Chicago, I believe, or Philly. They had, I don't know how many acres. It's approved and granted to the state fair, or the, I'm sorry, the World's Fair people. The day they break ground to the day they completed. Now, this is a true
Yeah.
story.
Mhm.
They had 18 months. They built 200 buildings of opulence. Okay. I'm talking of like intricate detail,
Right.
right? And for example, one of the buildings housed 300,000 people
Mhm.
in one fucking building, right? So
Mhm.
the interesting thing is, how
Yeah.
did they put this stuff up
They didn't. It was a great
without
reset.
exactly? And
It was a great
B,
reset.
why did they destroy them? Within weeks of when it was done. So
So
there's some stuff going on here that we could get caught up in all of the details, but I think what you're really bringing to the table here, it doesn't matter what the story and the narrative was and is. You can look through it, and just like that ET or that Star Family aspect
yeah,
saw you,
yeah,
they saw the real you, or they saw that you were tapped into the real you, I think would be
yeah.
another way to put it. Yeah.
Because the new right. Because so with we had to come in, and I remember I'm 57 years old, so I came in at one of the darkest times, right after the mother made the clarion call. Mother Earth made the clarion call after we set the nuclear bomb, right? The kids have found the matches. And so it needed to shift, but we couldn't. There's very specific rules. You can't expand consciousness too fast because it goes boom, right? And so we had to go real slow. So we had to infiltrate, just like they infiltrated. On the issue of Tartaria, I tell everybody one thing. How I understand it, it was a great reset. They were already built. Who built them? Well, giants. Giants can build them. Where did giants go? Well, let's back it up then, and let's tie into the Roman Catholic Church, right? And let's study, which I've been studying. It's all connected. Revelations, and we talk about we're supposed to have this huge, all these signs, all these things, and it sure looks like we're in a time of revelation because it's written, and oh, this is happening, and this is happening, and
It's a
this is happening, and
program.
this has happened,
It's a
right?
it's a fucking program.
It's a program, right? It's a matrix.
No, it's a
And
fucking
so,
program.
but
Excuse my
I
French. I'm
personally,
just
huh?
No, I'm just being funny. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's a matrix. I'll just tell you how I understand it, and then take what you need, leave the rest. Don't really, I mean, no offense to none. Don't really care what anybody thinks. But the way that I understand it, after 11 years of spending hours and hours a day studying nonstop, because that's my awakening thing, right? In the Bible, it says that Jesus will come back. He'll come down from the sky, and he will then usher in 1,000 years of peace, where there will be beautiful earth in glory, giving glory to our source, our creator, right?
La di
And
da.
then he exits, because it's written that he's got to exit, and then Satan or Lucifer, yada yada, boo boo, whatever you want to call
Whatever.
it, will the great deceiver, right, will come in, and they will turn nation against nation. I believe that when we tap into the Atlantean timelines and everybody gets into all this Sananda, and Jesus coming in the light ship, I personally think he already did. I think we did 1,000 years. I think Tartaria was the builders
You
of
know
the
what
1,000 years, and now we're in the satanic Luciferian religious timelines.
there's so much
But
information and
yeah,
misinformation and disinformation, and quite frankly, everything is a fucking program, including
yes,
ascension, if you
it's a
ask me.
matrix.
And a program is not necessarily a bad thing, but
Mm-mm.
I think what you're bringing up today, there's a couple of things. So rather than getting into the story, because I don't buy any of this story anymore, I don't buy the
Nah,
Jesus story, and I
uh-uh,
don't buy any of the other stories, because we're getting
no.
information from
Oh,
somewhere we're getting information from somewhere, and we still have to vet all of that information. Now, look, let me just say this: we know there was giants in
Mm-hmm.
a very broad regard,
Mm-hmm.
and all we have to do is look at it. It's there,
Yeah.
and it's 100
And
years
they're
ago,
petrified giants too. They've
200,
been
yeah,
turned to
there. So it's
stone.
all
Right.
there. Then you have and whether it's Tartary or whatever, you have these massive uh, structures and cities, etc., that have been covered up, just like the giant skeletons have been covered up. So it's not, to me, it's not like, okay, I need to find all the details, although I find it very
Yeah.
interesting. To me, it's like, okay, there looks like there was a mind swipe here.
Mm-hmm.
There looks like that. Why would you have? Yeah, I went and researched this. Why would you have? I think it was from like the 1850s. It started in Paris and London. Why would you have these world fairs
Mm-hmm.
where you have all these people coming? I'm talking about a shitload of people because these
Mm-hmm.
things ran about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at pictures, they're massive. I mean, one of them had a building that seated 300,000 people. Now, that's
Mm-hmm.
a freaking huge building. But anyway, why would you have? And see, the idea of the fairs was to introduce all the latest inventions. Now, if you look at 1904, I think Nikola Tesla
Tesla.
lit
And
up,
that's
I think it
where
was
it
in
all
Philly.
shuts
He
down.
lit up the whole place with light bulbs, and nobody had a fucking light bulb, period. But he lit it up with it, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And you've got this massive thing. I think it was something like, I want to say it was something like, uh, uh, I want to say like 1,500, 1,800 acres,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's
It was all
all
lit up.
built and it's all lit up with these ornate things. Now, my point is, what was, if you didn't have the internet, you would bring all these people in, you'd fill them up with stuff, they go back and spread the word. That
Mm-hmm.
was like their internet. So I can see where that was maybe used. But the point is, to me, is just to recognize what is and move on with it.
Right.
Because
And it's
all
a
we really
trap.
have is this,
It's a
right?
trap. So remember, the only way that a soul awakens in a sense is by clear. It all starts with the heart chakra. It always starts with the heart, right? And then it works its way from there. If there's no heart chakra opening, there's no further, there's no throat, there's no, third eye, there's no crown, there's nothing. You just don't exit the system. So it all starts with the heart. When we talk about these, and even Egypt, I mean, Egypt was lit up. That the pyramids were huge energy centers. So this earth provides everything that is needed, right? Everything on this earth is organic, but everything has been hijacked, and we know this, right? I think that what we need to, it is a huge trap when you get caught up in the I want to know, because then you go mental, and in itself, it's a, I don't want to call it an implant because it's not an implant, but it is a circular program in the
Of
matrix
course it
that
is.
people get caught up in. And
Exactly. It's no different
so you have to
than
be very careful. It's kind of
yeah,
like, you study things, but
yeah.
then after a while, even that shifts. And I know that's happened to you. And you accept that whatever comes to
Right.
you at your level of consciousness is what you just need to look at.
Well, I
Just
mean,
look at it.
I mean, like, cause everything has been. Look, there's no
Mm-hmm.
exceptions. Take my
No.
focus out of the future. Take my focus out of the past. Now I'm present,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's. I mean, it's a game. This is a
Mm-hmm.
school. It's a game, and I
It
think that
is.
that the emphasis now, the way I look at it is, in the space that we're in right now, this is a field of potential,
Yeah.
and we haven't been here before. We
No.
might have been through different things, but we have not been in this situation. So it's not about what's going to happen. It's
Mm-mm.
about how are we going to make this happen? What
And
do we want
the
to do?
key to
Do
it,
we want to
right?
have non-physical light body attributes in our physical body and play? I do. You know, I want
Well,
to do.
when you anchor to 5D, When you anchor to 5D, your light body, everybody wants to go light body. Okay. And that itself, in itself, is a trap. Because the higher you light body up, the more that you cannot root. The more that you cannot root, the more that you cannot be boots on the ground to be here for Mother Earth. So it's kind of like, every soul makes their own decision and it's all perfect. Everything is divinely perfect. I, for myself, right, coming in from upside down,
Right.
it's taken me 11 years to land. And boy, have I landed.
What do you mean
Right
upside
now,
down? I'm just curious. What do
I
you
I
mean
have an incredible, I have two experiences that are coming my way. Before my awakening, I used to own shoe boutiques and clothing boutiques, big, high end, winning awards in Atlanta, that whole thing. And then I had my awakening and I walked away from all that. And now the opportunity, because there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so you create unconsciously what you are still carrying within you, because inner grids reflect outer grids. But at the same time, our source and our creator guides us to the connections and the soul contracts and the soul experiences that we truly want. If you told me in 2012, when I walked away from my earthly life, and saw the dark, evil people around me, and really had to keep it together, right? Because I was being guided from within and I had to navigate very dangerous, at the time, it was very dangerous ground. I was a brand newbie, so I didn't have any tools. I didn't know how to do anything. I just was being like in a cocoon. And to now be having the opportunity to go back, right? I'm actually have an opportunity to go back and open, and the boutique is with a friend of mine that is hugely famous.
Who is it? Who is it? What are the initials? I'm good at this game. What are the initials?
You'll get it. You'll get it.
Is it DP?
But
Is it? Is it DP?
no, toilet paper. No, it's not.
No, DP, not TP. DP. I thought I knew who it was.
I know nothing.
Oh, I'm right.
I know
It's
nothing.
deep. It's DP,
No.
isn't it? Okay,
No.
I know who it is.
No, and it's not who you're thinking either. Anywho, but to have this connection come back so strongly, it's what's happening to all of us,
Yeah.
and that's why we have to be open. It has been the hardest thing, because for me, the program has always been you can't go back. There's no going back. And my awakening, I've lost my son, I've lost my daughter, I've lost, all my friends and family, because that's the awakening. Because
Welcome to the club. You're speaking to your family here.
Right? It's string theory. So in the world in which we were sleepers, surrounded by sleepers, we were experiencing life on earth without any knowledge, very limited in our consciousness frequency. But as our soul awakened, right, we quantum jumped out of that reality into a reality where those people don't exist. They're not at our frequency.
I agree.
Your timeline must align to those of your frequency. That's why we have to find like-minded individuals. That's why it's so easy now, after we've been in this ascension path, where you hear everybody now saying it's all about me. It's my ascension. I'm fully focused on my ascension. And indeed I am 100%. And that's because that is the law of resonance. The higher I can level up and open up my heart, my mind, and my consciousness, right? Because I know that back when I was in the 3D matrix, I loved and was loved to the best abilities of that timeline. I know that love conquers everything. So my job is to walk away so there's no more damage, take my energy out of that timeline so that it releases and lowers, because otherwise I'm holding it up, right? That's why people don't want to let go, and it gets really ugly, because you have to, by science, by consciousness. You cannot have an awakened one with one that's not. We are too strong of a spiritual catalyst and utterly will destroy and will harm. The whole point is to not harm the Christ consciousness. So this is when you see other people, I mean, a gazillion million people that you've interviewed, every single one of them is me. All alone, have been through infinite dark nights of the soul, but we're still here.
Yeah.
Because we understand quantum jumping and we understand the science, the science of quantum jumping, the signs that you're ascending are the multidimensional signs that you are ascending. One of the best ones, crazy, your hair. You know those days when one day your hair is looking good and the next day your hair is like dead and you have
Yeah,
dead
it all
hair?
falls out. That happened to me. Look at it happened to me
That's one of the signs.
Yeah. I mean, it all just fell out and it died.
Mm-hmm. That's one sign. Another sign is color change of your eyes. Why? Iriology, right? The study of the iris of the eye. Every organ is represented in our eyes. When we ascend and we clear and heal, the marks in our eyes that correspond to, that's why they're the windows to the soul and to physical health. That marks in our eyes clear and our eyes change. And then we end up with these incredibly looking alien colored eyes, right? Everybody's like, you got weird eyes. Yeah, I do. It's not the same color. And so you'll hear. Then another thing is that we know is because you'll see yourself and one day in the mirror you look one way and the next day you look different. But it's still you. That's multidimensional bleed through. It's the same as if you're driving down the road. I drive you down a million times, and all of a sudden you look up and you don't recognize anywhere. That's because you're straddling through worlds, the old Earth and the new Earth, right? And so you're traveling through open. You're not concreted into the old because your frequency is already shifting you out. And that's what multidimensional bleed through and the Mandela effect are 100% bang on signs. Yeah, you quantum jumped out of the third dimensional matrix. Yes or yes or yes. Mandela effects are always signs that you quantum jumped. That's why in one reality he's dead and in another one he's not. Schroeder's cat, right? Somebody opened the box, but until you open the box, is the cat dead or alive? We don't know, but we're experiencing it. Because in one reality, he was dead, and another one, now he's alive, or vice versa. That's a sign of multidimensional quantum jumping. That's you truly anchoring to and evolving. That's DNA activation.
Somebody, Melissa Hurley. Sorry, Melissa, I mispronounced your name. Why the hair? Love to hear more on that. My understanding about the hair, and I don't know anything, but it makes sense to me that there's like a lot of the stuff was stored in the hair follicles.
Their antennas.
And then also the teeth.
Yes. And you lose teeth when you release someone evil. I know, it's crazy. It's like
no, I'm not. I've never heard that. I was just.
I didn't either, and I had a shaman tell me that in Costa Rica. And I said, don't you want, and he had a couple of teeth missing. And I was like, don't you? And he goes, no, that's a beautiful sign. That's how our creator protects us. And that's one of the most concrete parts of our body that we can lose without harming. And all that, the teeth, we've been controlled because that's at the same level of our reptilian brain. So when you begin to open up that reptilian brain and the dreamer wells and, the hypochondria and the whole, the trinity back there, oftentimes we'll lose teeth. That's another sign. I lost 2 teeth. That got like super bad, like overnight, I had to Google. It's like, I'm not fixing that, a lot of them, that's why they did so much work on our teeth and put such bad things on it, is to hold our frequency at the reptilian level. So we can't awaken. Our teeth have been that was learned by Hitler.
All of their, and that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, but anyway, all of their efforts have failed. It's not even about, this is just who better to fool you than yourself.
Right.
Right. I mean, think about it. We set this up. We all want more information. We all want expansion in many different aspects of our field, but we set it up not to. We set it up so we could find it and expand it. But it'd be like, they gave us the cheat sheet to the video game, and like, what fun is that, right? I
Right,
mean, I have this conversation with my team all the time. I want more information. I want it now,
right.
with all due respect, honor, reverence, love, and so on.
Well,
But
you're the master now.
but I keep
You're
being
the one
told,
walking the earth. You're the
yeah,
ascended master.
yeah,
They're
but
not. They're on the
right.
other side of the veil. They're no
Thank you,
longer.
thank you. We're boots on the ground, and
Thank
that's right.
you. I'm so tired of people bowing down. No
You know,
offense to the
I agree.
ascended
I
masters,
totally
but
agree.
you know
We're
what?
on.
You
We're at
get
an
your ass
yeah,
down here and walk it right now, and then we'll
yeah.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're at an equal seat at the round table of spirituality. Well, you just said something I wanted to hit real quick. So you said it was yeah, okay. God, I lost it now. I lost it. Anyway, let's we got to get ready for the next show, but
Okay.
I just
Oh,
want to.
that went fast. I can't
So
see
I
nothing.
know that was a freaking 1
We
hour
didn't
on the
even
dot.
discuss the chocolate.
Yeah, well, people come on here and they don't do it so much anymore. They're like, I want to talk about this or whatnot, and I don't say no and I don't say yes. We just get in here and start talking. But I think that I don't know. I just
We all channel. We're all. You know what? It's all about our sacred intent. And
of
if there's
course.
one thing that I wish to pass on is the most important thing. Everybody is wants to be at 5D, and they should. I always say I know a lot, right? And that's all fine. And it is what it is. But I am at the frequency of peace. I feel peace all the time. Um, and that's 5D. 5D is like a way station, like a train station. And from there, in 5D, right, at the frequency of peace, we are one, silent. So we move about in silence. Two, alone. That's part of the silence and peace, right? We're very isolated. And so it's like a way station where we learn to focus and be completely driven from within to navigate multidimensionally, because ultimately that's where we're going. We're collapsing the fourth dimensional spiritual warfare and all that entails, whether it's galactic, whether it's religious, whether it's governmental. It doesn't really matter how it's playing out. At the higher level consciousness, right now, we're anchoring that high consciousness, that frequency of peace. Once everybody gets to that frequency, then they will move on to either the sixth dimension of paradise, the seventh dimension of learning through luck and chance, the eighth dimension of understanding karma dharma, the ninth dimension of understanding endings and beginnings, how to, because been the problem right now I see with the people that I'm working with. Everybody is so used to ending everything that we have forgotten how to begin. It hurts more to be born than to die. We have all been dying, 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 descending, descending, descending. And now we're in the process of being reborn. And being born, I'm a mama. I gave birth to two beautiful kids, right? They're adults now. But, so it hurts. And that's where we are. And the community, the awakening community, the awake community, the heart collective, as I call them, that are anchoring the Christ consciousness, harm none, the law of Ra, the law of one, they have to shift energetically, not to ending and cutting, but to being magnetic and accepting. We've been electrical. We've been thinking our way through the end, and now it's time for us to open up, because what's coming, it's there's no aspect of what we're leaving behind that's coming with us. None. Not the
I
government,
agree.
nothing.
I agree. You got to turn her back on all of it. And the crazy thing
And
is, somebody was on the other day and they said this, and I thought it was so fitting because it fits a quantum creator's experience. And that is, she said, stop worrying about, what was it? She said, stop worrying about what you don't want to end
yeah,
and start building
Creating.
What would she say? She said, God, she said, we'll start building. In other words, who do you love? What do you love doing? Where do you want to live? Like get behind and
Where
try
you're
and,
going.
utilize your quantum creative powers to initiate, perpetuate, and expand
Yes.
these basic elements that all revolve around the heart, and of course the intention of the heart, as opposed to worrying about what shoe's going to drop. And I think
Right.
that's where we're getting at.
That's
And
the
I
trap.
and I personally think that we are moving beyond the 5D. I don't think it's just 5D. I don't
Oh
think you
no,
can.
no. 5D
Yeah,
is just
I
a
think
wait
it's.
station.
Yeah,
We're all going
I think we're
6, 7,
actually.
8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
We're out of here.
yeah,
We're in completely different.
yeah.
It's
I just think we have people on this earth. They're bouncing around, and it's not just 5D. They're 60. They're 70. They're 90. They have some. I'm not saying that they're there all the time. All I'm saying is that they have access to
we
all
have
of
the
that.
ability to tap into any frequency of any dimension to
Yeah.
use that to fuel our creations. And the way to do that is it all begins with a sacred intent. And there's no faking frequency. There is no, and we are also heading towards instantly manifesting. And in order to do that, you have to be completely in control of your mental body, your physical body, your emotional
Well,
body,
you got
your
to be cleaned
spiritual
up.
body,
Yeah.
and your energetic body. That's
Yeah.
5D.
You have to be cleaned
Once
up.
you master those bodies,
Yeah.
you move on. That's where
Well, and
for
and a
me.
lot of people, we got to go. But the thing is, this is interesting because a lot of people, they, why isn't there more ET contact or whatever, right? But I don't think anyone that's had
There
any.
is.
Yeah, but right, anyone that's had any of these experiences knows it's always telepathic. Number one,
Yeah.
and number two, part of the reason that we're not being engaged maybe to the way that a lot of people would like to see is because they read our fear. And
Well,
you know what
I've
I mean?
always said and wrote this 10 years ago, and I stand by it. I don't know about anybody else, but I know
Mm.
that my Arcturian and Andromedan family would never bring a light ship if any light ship appearing in our skies would elicit an ounce of fear on any human being on this world.
That's right.
So until that is transcended, that's why I'm not getting on any ship. Because my family wouldn't do it. Now my family are Arcturian
Well, and
Andromedan
see, here's the thing,
is 12 dimensional.
and it's
But
not even
they're not alien ships. They're
yeah.
human ships.
If you look at the space that we're in right now, and you have fear of each other, do you really think that the legit ones are gonna land when there's fear abounding throughout the earth with each other? How do you think that type of being would look at a ship's landing if they're
Right.
already looking at their brothers and sisters in fear?
Right.
But I think the good news is the Mother Goddess has landed. She's expanded in all of us, and we're kicking ass and taking names, and we're the darlings of the universe.
Okay, so
All there is
talking
to
about
it.
mother energy,
Yeah.
this is a flower agate.
Wow.
And it is so I just got it yesterday. I got this and I got a banded agate. They came together.
Wow.
And they talked to me all night.
Cool.
And then with it came a labradorite. And so this is the earth. This is the Trinity. We don't co-create with twos anymore. We co-create in a Trinity.
That's right.
So that's another thing that if you're not in it, you can't move to the next level. It's a game, right? It's a game like the kids play. And we need to remember that, you know what? If
So
aliens were going to take over the earth, they would have. Okay. The reality is that the earth herself from a frequency, Schumann resonance, throw it all together in the kitchen sink frequency, all 6-dimensional, 7th-dimensional negative aliens that were physically on the planet exited. They exited on 2012 because when Looking Glass collapsed and they knew it was over, they knew what was up. They left. They might have left their minions behind in the tunnels and the reptilians and all that.
Man, it's just
It doesn't matter though. Because it's
Can't
not
touch
about
this.
them, it's about us. We have
Can't
to
touch
stay
this.
on the focus of us. You
Right
know,
on.
because
Well,
they fear us way more than, look at
I'm not
everything's
what
been done.
you know what? They're us. They're us
Yeah,
looking at us. It's all us.
it's
It's
a
all
mirror.
me.
It's a holographic
If
universe.
you're me, then why wouldn't they be me? All
Yeah.
right. So I gotta head out
You
because I
gotta
gotta.
go
Yeah,
for
we
part
got
two
another
too.
show in because we had some. Okay, so we got another show in what time is it? Yeah, 45 minutes, but I got to go take care of a couple things. Hey,
Well,
listen, I just want to thank you first of
yes.
all, and be safe in your undisclosed location. And I also want to just say to everybody, thank you so much for your continued love and support and contributions, because we really couldn't do this, and
Right.
you guys always come through. I also want to just
Yeah.
say we're getting a lot of more people on the YouTube channel. It's now become the biggest platform, at least in terms of watching live.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so,
launching a YouTube channel tomorrow.
excellent.
Just Ascension Answers.
Right on.
Anybody that wants to talk multidimensional, just shoot me an email to lightlover1964@gmail.com or ascensionanswers@gmail.com. And then I'm going to start, because we need to start speaking multidimensional. We need to talk new, not old.
That's right.
Not old anymore.
Yeah, I want to talk about magic carpets and sacred sexuality with your
Well,
partner.
my twin flame and I have unified, right?
I don't know anything. I don't know
See,
anything. I don't know
nothing
anything
either.
about nothing. So, all right, I got to run. Love you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Marie, I'll send it to you, Marie. Or
Okay.
it might be. I'm talking
Oh,
to
and I'm
Marie.
going to start doing sessions, activation sessions. Again,
Cool.
if anybody wants it, donations at lightlover1964@gmail.com. However, reach me, and I'll start in sessions next week, since I 2 days ago got my new office.
Right on.
Right on.
All blessings to
all
you,
good.
and all blessings to you and yours and all your endeavors.